Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Rookie Card Collector 123 video. Today's episode is going to be our final look at my childhood minor league baseball card collection. We've done about I believe 6 or 7 episodes. Today I'm going to finish up with the last players in the alphabet. And at the end of today's video, I'm going to show my top 10 minor league cards, which are all graded. So I have not shown any of these 10 cards yet in any of the previous videos. So you definitely want to stay tuned through this video to the end and not miss that top 10. So we're going to begin today with a 1982 TCMA. This is the Toledo Mud Hens. They were a AAA International League ball club for the Minnesota Twins, and this is Frank Viola. Viola had some very good seasons for Minnesota. Also, following those days, he played for the New York Mets. Had some good years for the Mets as well. Top left-handed pitcher in the American League. Not quite Hall of Fame caliber, but excellent starting pitcher, primarily for the Twins. And this, like I said, 1982 TCMA. This came from the Toledo Mud Hens minor league team set. Okay, next up we have a guy who's may not be too familiar. Did not have a very significant major league career. I was a big fan of his though when he was coming up in through the minor league system with the Chicago White Sox. Greg Walker. He was a first baseman, left-handed hitter. In the minors, he showed good batting averages, showed power. Unfortunately, that did not translate too well into the major leagues. He had a couple of decent seasons his first couple of years. He was in the '83 Topps Traded set, the same set that Darryl Strawberry appeared in. And I bought a few of those back in the day when I was collecting rookie cards. And Greg Walker, Julio Franco. There was a few other stars. Of course, Strawberry was the biggest name. But I followed Greg Walker for a few seasons. Unfortunately, didn't have, like I said, a great major league career. This is Walker in the 1980 Appleton Foxes. I believe this is his first ever professional baseball card. Also put out by TCMA, so this was part of the Appleton Foxes team set. That was a low Class A ball for the Chicago White Sox at that time. And have one more Greg Walker here. This is the 1981 TCMA. This one is the Glens Falls White Sox. So this was one level higher, but still single A ball for Chicago. And picturing the left-handed hitting Greg Walker again. Next up, we have an autograph card. I was a big fan of this guy as well, Todd Walker. I actually began following him when he was in college at Louisiana State University. This was the early 1990s when he was at LSU. And by that point, ESPN on the cable network started televising the College World Series. So you got to see a lot of the top college ball players from that era. I was a big Arizona State fan more than anything. Mike Kelly was playing at Arizona State. He took over for Barry Bonds when Bonds graduated, and Kelly was a big star. Todd Walker in the I think it was the '92 or '93 College World Series was a big star for LSU. He was a second baseman, played some second and third in the majors. Had some decent seasons, had pretty decent power for a middle infielder. Good hitter, not the greatest of defensive players, but um, good second baseman, third baseman. Came up with the Minnesota Twins, like I said. This one is a pack pulled Signature Rookies 1995 autograph. Signature Rookies was the first company to put cards out that were signed by the ball players, and you were guaranteed one autograph per pack in their boxes. Their first year, I believe, was 1990. 1994, I know they did a draft pick series. Todd Walker was in that set. And then they did series in 95 and 96. Their main thing was, like I said, one autograph in every pack. And Todd Walker at the time was one of the top autographs to pull. Next up, we have a pitcher that I liked a lot back in the late 70s and into the 80s, Bob Welch. Welch came up through the minors with the Los Angeles Dodgers in the late 70s. His Topps rookie card was 1979. He's the pitcher that gave up the World Series home runs to Reggie Jackson in the Yankees Dodgers series. One of the pitchers that gave up home runs to Jackson. And he's pictured here in this TCMA Albuquerque. I'm sorry, this is not TCMA. This is Kramer. Kramer was a company, if you've been following these videos, they put out all PCL minor league team sets, Pacific Coast League. And this is a 1978 Pacific Coast League, so this is the year before the Topps Bob Welch rookie. And picturing him with the Albuquerque Dukes, which is the Dodgers AAA club. I believe Welch came up at some point during the 78 season and then officially was a rookie in 79. Next up, we have a kind of a unique card from a unique set. This set was put out by Larry Fritsch. Larry Fritsch was a longtime, decades dealer, major national dealer. He was one of the first to put out mail order catalogs. Back in the 70s, 80s, Fritsch was one of the biggest dealers in the country. This is a Danville, which is a California Angels, Danville Suns, California Angels single A ball club. This one pictures Devon White. Devon White was a favorite of mine during the 80s. He came up with the Angels through the minor league system, and then in the early 90s had moved on to the Toronto Blue Jays and would be a key player in their Blue Jays World Championship team under Cito Gaston. White was an outstanding center fielder, won numerous gold gloves, probably should have won more. Probably the best defensive center fielder of his time in the American League. Had good power and excellent speed. I believe he stole 40 bases more than once. He was a 20 homer guy several times, so just the ideal player that I used to love, the power speed guy. And average and strikeouts was his kind of his weak point. But overall, had a great career. Not quite Hall of Fame level, but outstanding player from the 80s and 90s, Devon White. This was, I don't know if I mentioned, this was 1982 Danville, so his rookie cards were all from 1987, so this is 5 years earlier. Next up, we have a 1986 Devon White. This is with the Edmonton Trappers, so that was the Angels AAA club. This was the season before he would move up to the Major League California Angels. White pictured here in this Pro Cards issue from 1986. And here we have a 1983. This is actually also a Larry Frisch card. Frisch printed sets only from the Midwest League. He was from Wisconsin, I believe, was where his business was located. And he did all the Midwest League clubs from 1982 and 1983. I think, not sure if he did one in 84. He did those 2 or 3 years only. Jose Canseco was the biggest name in his sets, along with Kirby Puckett. Puckett was in a Vesalia set. I think the Puckett was 1983 as well as Canseco. But this one pictures Devon White, Peoria Suns. Again, single A club for the California Angels. And this is a year later than the previous one we looked at. So this is 1983, Larry Fritsch. Next up, we have Mark Whiten. Whiten was a sort of a five-tool player, came up with the Toronto Blue Jays. Had had more power, I would say, than anything else, and also an outstanding throwing arm from right field. Again, similar to Devon White, strikeouts and batting average were not really his strengths, and that kind of limited his production in the majors. Had a pretty good career, not quite reaching the potential that many thought he could when he came up with the Blue Jays. He was also nicknamed Hard Hitting Mark Whiten. This one is a 1990 Pro Cards. He's pictured with the Syracuse Chiefs, which was the Blue Jays AAA team, right before he would come up to the Major League Blue Jay Club. And here we have another 1990 Whiten. This is CMC. The CMC set was put out in wax packs, so these were all singles. They did not put out team sets like TCMA and Pro Cards did. And this one pictures Whiten, AAA Syracuse Chiefs again before his ascent to the Toronto Blue Jays Major League team. Next up is another one of my favorites from the 90s, Rondell White. Rondell White was definitely a five-tool guy. Came up through the Montreal Expos minor league system. And he was sort of in the same mold as Marquise Grissom. They both came up pretty close to the same time. I believe Grissom was a year or two earlier. And White was a 20 homer hitter, 20, 30 stolen base guy, decent outfielder, had some of his best years with Montreal. He was also in the 1990 Classic, the first ever draft pick set that Classic put out, which included Chipper Jones, who was the #1 overall pick in the nation. And Rondell White ended up being probably the second best player from that draft class. Originally, Todd Van Poppel was supposed to be really #1, but he didn't ended up being a flop more or less in the major leagues. Next up, we have another Rondell White. This is a 1991 Classic Best. This is with the Sumter Flyers. This was a low A ball team for the Montreal Expos. Rondell White again. Next up, we have a 1987 Pro Cards, Bernie Williams. This is with Fort Lauderdale, so this was the Florida State League Single A Yankee Club. I believe this is the earliest Bernie Williams professional baseball card. And again, 87 Pro Cards, Fort Lauderdale. Okay, next up we have, I believe this company only produced sets this one year, was Pacific. They would go on to produce football and baseball sets during the 90s. But this is a 1988, no, 1986 Pacific. This is Matt Williams. Matt Williams, for about a decade, was one of the top home run hitting third basemen in the National League. Played primarily the San Francisco Giants, had some 30 home run seasons. Not a high average hitter, but an excellent run producer. He was there when Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell were getting toward the end of their time with the Giants. Williams was just becoming a star. Next up is one of my oldest, I think it was my oldest minor league card. This is a 1975 TCMA. This is Willie Wilson. Wilson was the speedy outfielder, mainly left fielder for the Kansas City Royals during the 70s and 1980s. One of the fastest players in baseball. I believe he stole over 50 bases more than once. Was a good hitter, batting average hitter. Hit close to 300 a few times. Not really any power. And a pretty good defensive player. Covered a lot of ground in the outfield. This one was put out by TCMA. It's the Waterloo Royals minor league team issue. And pictures here, Wilson in black and white image. The very earliest TCMA sets were black and white. Another year or so later, by 76, I believe they started doing color, 76 or 77. Next up, we have this was a favorite pitcher of mine in the 80s coming up to the majors, Floyd Yeomans. He came through the Montreal Expos minor league system, or actually, I guess through the Mets first, and then was traded to the Expos before he got to the majors. So he's pictured here at Double A with the Jackson Mets. This is the TCMA Jackson Mets issue. And Yeomans was a right-hander, threw hard, mainly a strikeout pitcher. And like I said, I really followed him a lot. I thought he was going to become a top starter in the National League. I think he had some control issues in the majors that kind of prevented him from accomplishing very much up in the majors. But I do remember one game. I think it was 1986. It was either his rookie season or his second year. It might have been 87, and he was slated to start against the Houston Astros when Nolan Ryan was pitching for the Astros. And the two of them pitched a scoreless duel for just about the entire game. Yeomans ended up losing the game 1-0. I believe he struck out 12, and I think Ryan struck out 14. And it was just one of those games where the pitching just overwhelmed the hitters. But Floyd Yeomans, 1983 Jackson Mets. And next one we have here is Todd Zeile. This is 1986 Pro Cards, the first year Pro Cards put sets out. This one's picturing him with the Erie Ball Club, which was a single A St. Louis Cardinals team. This was a team set issue. Zeile would come up as a catcher, would play a lot of first base and third base, and I'm not sure if he played outfield probably later in his career. He was an excellent hitter, had some power, hit for a good average. Not especially great defensive player, but excellent run producer for the Cardinals through most of the 90s. And we've got a couple of oversized cards here I'm going to show next. This one is also one of my earliest. I think this is 1976. This is Jack Clark. It was a Coca-Cola sponsored issue. Clark was with the Phoenix Giants, so this was the San Francisco AAA ball club in the Pacific Coast League. Clark pictured here, he would become a big-time power hitter. A few good seasons with the Giants, had his best years with the St. Louis Cardinals. And for several years with the Cardinals in the 80s, he represented really the only home run threat in the lineup when they had the Whitey Ball speed team with Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Terry Pendleton and all those guys. Jack Clark was the first baseman and batting cleanup and legitimate 30 home run hitter. And the last of the regular cards I'm going to show, this is a 1986 postcard. This is Fred McGriff. This is with the Syracuse Chiefs. So this was put out by TCMA. Not their normal standard size cards, but a postcard team issue of the Syracuse club. Syracuse was the Blue Jays AAA team, and this is McGriff right before he came up to Toronto later in the season in 1986, and of course would go on to a Hall of Fame career. Kind of split between Toronto and San Diego, and then he played with the Atlanta Braves as well. Okay, now I'm going to show, as promised in the beginning of the video, I'm going to show my top 10 minor league cards in my collection. As I said, these are all graded. Some of them are the older ones going back to the 70s. So the first one I have here is a 1977 TCMA. This is Jack Morris. Morris is pictured with the Evansville Triplets. That was I believe, the single A team. It might have been double A for the Detroit Tigers. Morris, of course, would be starting pitcher, ultimately elected to the Hall of Fame, and had the famous World Series game against the Atlanta Braves and John Smoltz that went 10 innings, and Morris won the World Championship for the Minnesota Twins. Next up is a 1979 TCMA. This is Ricky Henderson. This is a team issue with the Ogden A's. So that was a single A ball club for the Oakland Athletics. This would be a year before Henderson's Topps rookie card when he would move up to the Major League Oakland ball club. Henderson does have an earlier minor league card, which I used to have in a former collection that I sold off years ago. That one he's pictured with the Modesto A's, which was the low A ball club of the Oakland organization. It was put out by a company called Chong and is extremely rare. Today's market, those Chong Modesto A's Ricky Henderson cards tend to sell in close to five figures. This one is nowhere near that, but second minor league card for Ricky Henderson. Next up, another early TCMA issue. This is 1979, Tim Raines, the National League version of Ricky Henderson, you could say, during the 80s. Raines did not have as much power as Ricky did, but he was able to keep up pretty close to Henderson in terms of stolen bases. Excellent hitter, probably hit for a higher career average. Without checking, I would guess that his average might have been higher than Ricky's career-wise. Also a good outfielder. Tim Raines here, he's pictured with the Memphis Chicks, and this is 1979 TCMA issue. Okay, next up we have a 1981 TCMA. This is Cal Ripken Jr., of course, the Iron Man of baseball. This one pictures him with the Rochester Red Wings. That was the Baltimore Orioles AAA team, which Ripken played for the year before he came up to the Orioles. Ripken also has an earlier minor league issue, kind of similar to Henderson. It's from 1980. It was with the Charlotte ball club. Charlotte was the AA team for the Baltimore organization. And those were police set cards that were issued. And there was two different versions. There was a version with a blue border, and there was a version with an orange border. I think there were two different images. I'm not 100% sure. But one of them, I think it's the orange. I think it's the orange one is extremely rare, kind of like Henderson. Population numbers are somewhere in the 10 cards known range. I used to own that one as well in the former collection I had. The orange Charlotte Cal Ripken. Next up, we have another 1981 TCMA. That was a pretty big year for top minor league prospects. This one is Ryne Sandberg, who, of course, would become the Cubs' longtime second baseman, Hall of Famer. Here he's pictured in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. He's with the Oklahoma City 89ers. That was the Phillies AAA ball club back in the early 80s. Sandberg also had a much rarer minor league issue the year before, in 1980, with the Reading Phillies, which was the Phillies AA team. And I also had that Reading Sandberg in my previous minor league collection as well. Okay, next up we have, this is the very first professional baseball card for Wade Boggs. So he does not have a rare earlier card. This again, 1981 TCMA. You notice the same style and format as the previous cards with Ripken and Sandberg. Boggs is with the Pawtucket Red Sox, the AAA team, prior to his ascent to Boston in 1982. Boggs, of course, would become a Hall of Fame third baseman and perennial 300 hitter, which I believe he ended up with 5 batting titles. I'm not 100% sure of that number. So 1981 TCMA Pawtucket Wade Boggs. Okay, next up we have not a Hall of Famer, but one of the most popular Major League and also NFL stars from the 1980s and early 90s, Bo Jackson. Here he's pictured in Double A. After he signed with the Kansas City Royals, he played for the Memphis Chicks. And this is not the Memphis Chicks card, but this is the Southern League All Star card. These were sold at the stadium the day they had the Double A Southern League All Star game. Bo Jackson was a big star there. The same year, Mark McGwire played in Huntsville. He was also a Southern League All Star. And Jose Canseco was in the majors in '86, but in '85, the year before, he was with the Huntsville Ball Club, the Double A Oakland team. And Canseco appears in this Southern League All Star set as well. His is more like a commemorative card. Okay, next up we have 1986 Pro Cards, John Smoltz. This is also Smoltz's first professional baseball card. He's pictured with the Lakeland Tigers, which was the Detroit Single A ball club. Later in the following season, he would pitch for Glens Falls, also a Tigers Single A team. And I showed that Smoltz card in a previous video, I believe the last episode before today's. So 1986 Pro Cards, Lakeland Tigers, John Smoltz, Hall of Fame pitcher, starter, and then became a reliever later in his career, excelled in both areas. Next up, we're getting down to the end. This is the next to last one. We have Sammy Sosa. Became famous in 1998 with the Mark McGwire home run chase. Sosa began his professional career in the Texas Rangers organization before moving on to the White Sox and ultimately Chicago Cubs, where he had his biggest seasons. But here he's pictured with the Gastonia Rangers, which was a low single A ball club for the Rangers. Again, 1987. This was a Pro Cards issue. Gastonia had quite a loaded team that year. They also in the same team set was Juan Gonzalez, who would go on to a stellar major league career. Unfortunately, like Sosa, tainted by the PED usage. And also Dean Palmer, who was a power hitting third baseman, had a very nice career with the Rangers as well. Palmer was also in this Gastonia Rangers set. So really nice set if you picked that one up back in '87 at the stadium for probably $3 or $4. You got yourself a pretty good bargain. And we're going to close out the minor league collection series with probably my favorite player of all time. This one's not really a true minor league card, but the player is pictured 1995. He would not play in the majors for an extended time until 1997. So even though he's in his major league uniform and it's a major league set, I'm just using this to finish up the minor league series. But this is Vladimir Guerrero, 1995 Bowman's Best. This one is unfortunately not the refractor, which is pretty big money. This is his base card. But Guerrero, one of the best all-around players in baseball, excuse me, throughout the late 90s and 2000s and into the early 20 teens. Began his career with the Expos and then later played for several other teams, including the Angels, Baltimore, and Texas, I believe, too. Guerrero was a perennial 300 hitter, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, won an American League MVP. Could have possibly been a National League MVP once or twice. But outstanding throwing arm from right field and a five-tool guy. And like I said, probably my favorite player of all time. So that's going to wrap up the not only today's episode, but the minor league card collection. I hope you guys enjoyed the look back on all those cards. It was a lot of fun for me to present and talk about them. Brings back a lot of memories. Excuse me. So anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys again on the next one.